It's just like, oh my fuck. The one, the only, that's not gonna fight me anymore. Oh! And he wants to go down to middleweight. Thanks, I'm gonna lie, for taking the biggest payday of my life. It's nothing personal.
It's completely ruined any potential fight of you and Alex now. Unless Alex comes back in a rematch and starches him, then it makes sense.
No.
Yeah, I guess.
Or go on.
It's UFC 287. Alex Pereira holds the middleweight belt and plans to defend it against Israel Adesanya, the previous champion. The hype train was at its peak. Alex was still undefeated in the UFC, and he just recently TKO'd Izzy in UFC 281, making it 3-0 in their quote-unquote rivalry.
Pereira's had his most success to the body tonight. Oh, he hurt it. Left hook. He hurt it bad. Oh, and now a right. Adesanya's on one leg. Two more. Down goes the champion. Pereira trying to close the show. Doesn't do it.
Who was actually going to stop this guy? The person who was remotely close just went 0-3, and try your best to out-trash talk him. He already shuts you down by his fierce stare and silence. So coming into UFC 287 fight week, Alex Pereira finally gets his chance to show his true colors and his true self. Rightfully so, because he just became champion and now everyone wants to hear his story and his voice. So we did, and it's great. Full-on Brazilian rags to riches story. And I guess for the casual fans, they get their first glimpse of Alex Pereira doing something quite odd. For me personally, I love it. There's only so much and so long a fighter keeps his persona for, and it's just time for him to have some fun. But in saying that, this isn't a normal industry. This is the fighting business. If you aren't coming into the cage with the mindset of killing your opponent, that is considered basically a mental liability. Alex Pereira was the champion in kickboxing and now the UFC. I think becoming the UFC champion was his biggest life achievement. Of course, we will see him just relaxing and him enjoying his fame and wealth. He deserves it. But the true question at this point of time was, is this going to affect his next performance? He's leveled out the playing field. The skill-based matchmaking has now finished. He's basically the best in the world now. So it's only natural he's going to fight the second best in the world. And it's Izzy again. But now Izzy's the one out of the spotlight, and he's the one hunting for Pereira.
This is the first time in a long time I'm fighting for all you guys. People like that, that's who I'm doing this for. And I love you from the bottom of my heart, so thank you. Tomorrow, just stick with me. I'm gonna get this done. One and done.
Olaji Temitayo ọdún ayọ̀ Olúwafẹ́mi Owólabí Adésanya ọmọ ọba ni mí. Tomorrow, it's one and done.
Izzy had a better read on Alex Pereira. Granted, it did take the man 3 times, but he finally got it at least. Izzy and most of us knew that Pereira's broken as fuck left hook and calf kicks shut down the opponent before they can construct a good counter plan, thus taking Izzy 3 times to get it done. A bit off topic, but look at Jiri Tangent for example. Dare I say he's got one of the best chins in the game, but that's the problem for him and a bad style against Alex Pereira. For example, Jiri's chin is basically like a 99 out of 100. And his style is to be more aggressive the more he gets hurt. It's like the Jiri train and the engine gets louder as the fight goes on. But with Pereira, with a 100 out of 100 power, he shuts down Jiri before things get wild. But yeah, going back, Pereira suffers his first UFC loss, and it was in most devastating fashion. A 35-year-old fighter who needs to cut nearly 20 kilos of weight within a week, in itself, is enough to kill someone. But to fight is going even further. So the weight cut definitely affected Alex during that night, and he made the choice to move to light heavyweight. This was a very shaky light heavyweight debut because it resulted in a split decision. I think it was a fair split decision win for Alex, but it was a split decision regardless and showed a huge hole in Alex's game. Jan for the whole of the first round just gave Alex problems, but luckily due to altitude during that fight, Alex was fighting an exhausted and old Jan for round 2 and 3. So it may have been a different story if Jan was a bit younger and it was set somewhere else and he had the cardio to keep on grappling. But you know the saying, if my grandma had wheels, she would be a bike. But anyway, Alex solidified himself as a ranked UFC light heavyweight fighter and will continue to show potential to the company. But he got exposed in the ground game. And during this time, even us Pereira fans were a bit skeptical on how he does in the future. Alex was now set to fight Jiri Prochazka for the light heavyweight bout now. And let's keep this simple. Jiri had something going like he always does until he got shot with that left hook. If it was any other fighter, he would have scrubbed it off, but not this time. And now the light heavyweight champion is Alex Pereira. Shama. I think that was the debut of Shama. I would like to call this era the ducking Ankalaev era. Quote unquote, by the way, not self-proclaimed. This is what the haters like to call this era. These two were direct opposites from one another. Both were really good. Both were basically the best fighters in their division, but one saw the spotlight while the other didn't. Almost rightfully so, because Alex was exactly what a star UFC fighter was supposed to do: get amazing KO highlights, have a strong brand personality, a catchphrase, and be one of the best fighters in the world. While Ankalaev, on the other hand, was also a great fighter, but wins via unanimous decision most of the time, doesn't really promote his fights at all, or try to reach himself and connect with the fans. You know, I do get that some fighters are striving to literally just be the champion because they want to be the best in the world, the best fighter in the world. It's a good goal, but not in this economy now. Being the best in the world doesn't really say much on its own anymore. Unk just doesn't care to the point he just has his manager do the shit talking. And my god, he is so shit at that. Just talking shit in Unk's name by making really bad trash talk and creating a worse image for Ankalaev where he isn't really a bad person. So fighters and fans are just confused now. It's like we are gatekept to being a fan of him. So Unk's rise to the title shot was super delayed because the UFC really wants to cement Alex's title run before Ankalaev arrives. Because if they set up Alex versus Unk straight away, that would be the biggest risk for the UFC to lose their star athlete. Unk drew with Jan for that bout, and it took him 2.5 years to get the title shot again. And it wasn't because he lost any fights in between that. So Ankalaev fights Johnny Walker out of all people, then it goes to no contest, then gets the rematch with Johnny Walker and wins, and then fights Rakic and gets the unanimous decision win. Personally, I forgot this fight even happened. It was severely boring in my eyes, despite, there was a lot of striking involved. And for those 2.5 years, we saw Alex Pereira have his best title run ever. I guess. Not for the haters though. Alex Pereira headlined UFC 300 and won in the first round via TKO. One of the best cards in modern UFC history, and won that fight the best way possible as the main event. But people still found a way to cope as Pereira haters, saying Jamal Hill was dog shit from the start and he's ducking the true contender Ankalaev. But they were saying that after the result of UFC 300. People forget the hype with Hill. There wasn't that much hype, but there was still hype. He had never been in trouble on the feet at all since. If anything, he was basically dominating in the feet with everyone he's fought so far. And he was an ex-champion who has yet to lose. So once that happened and how easily he lost, people were giving shit to Jamal Hill now. Then he rematched Jiri, who proved himself to be good for the title shot again because he TKO'd Rakic in UFC 300, only for Jiri to lose again via KO. And the story persists once again. People were saying Alex is the perfect style matchup against Jiri. His fighting style, basically carried the fight. Yes, people were spewing that kind of nonsense. The only thing that was working in their shit talk was that he hasn't fought Ankalaev yet. Now here comes the weird part. Alex is now set to face Khalil Roundtree, who was ranked 8th in the division. Khalil had hype and was a good fighter, but he's not a great fighter. But the UFC knew what to do. Two exciting strikers going all out, and both their stocks will go up. What's there to lose? So in comes the quote-unquote Alex downfall arc. The long wait where we finally get to see the true fight upon us. Is Alex finally the GOAT and the dominant light heavyweight champion that left the division? Or is he ducking Ankalaev? Also during this time, these title fights were kinda getting into Alex's head. I said that in the most offensive way possible, I apologize, but I can't word that any better. Alex was basically, the face of the UFC. There's only so much staring and saying Sharma, can get you. Alex needed to take the opportunity to expand his brand image, invest in himself when he retires. So he basically went on world tours and, boxing tours around the world, and we basically loved it. Then he started to do some questionable things. And sponsored betting posts? He does know he's fighting Ankalaev next, and he's doing boxing most of his training camp. Seems a bit odd considering Ank is the first well-rounded, conventional prime athlete he's going to face. But okay, I guess. Then the fight actually happened. So of course, after that fight, anything Alex Pereira said was basically profiled as an excuse. Any feedback at all. Him saying he isn't making any excuses didn't work for some fans. Like I always say, I don't like to give excuses or take the merit away from the opponent, even if I disagree with the decision, Pereira said in Portuguese. Everybody has their issues. I had mine, and maybe he had his problems too. But what I can say is that my hand was fine, but many things happened. That was one of the most complicated fights with everything that happened, Pereira said. I don't regret fighting. I've conquered everything I have and have motivated many people, and I tried something that was hard for me. I've done similar things before with difficulties of injuries and things like that, and it has worked before. And this time it didn't, but I don't regret it. I'll be ready, Pereira said. If it's August, it's a good date. I can't wait for that moment, and it'll definitely be a different fight, he added. If I knock him out, okay, but I feel like I have what it takes to do everything I want with this guy. I like how this aged like fine wine. Everyone considered this as an excuse, even though he said it's not an excuse. It sounded like he was just, hiding it. And when we find out he was actually speaking the truth, man, that's crazy. Also, it didn't really seem convincing now that Alex Pereira is 38 years old and has Conor McGregor levels of stardom now. So in other words, he is just traveling, doing sponsors, and just, getting mad money. Even when the fight was finally scheduled, there weren't that much fighting footage or, training footage or him, trying to promote the fight. Which gives the narrative he doesn't really care about the UFC anymore, and we had moments where he had a fight with the UFC company and considered leaving the organization. And to add more to the narrative, Alex doesn't seem to be switching up his training footage to beat Ankalaev in the rematch. He's just doing the same boxing and generic MMA training. But the worst is to come for the Twitter dwellers, the Nina drama curse. I'm not entirely sure if it's really a curse, but UFC fans have been speculating that Nina Drama has a curse going on, that if you have an interview or if you associate yourself with Nina Drama, you lose your next fight. I can't find any valid evidence considering, she interviews every fighter as of date. Maybe you guys are just finding excuses to hate now, but I can't lie. It does feel conflicting to see our stoic killer playing with Nina's feet now. And not to mention the rematch fight build-up during fight week. Okay, it gets a little bit awkward when Alex Pereira is just saying Sharma and speaking Portuguese to Ankalaev that doesn't speak Portuguese or English, and, slowly developing some sort of, communication that Ankalaev isn't actually the person trash talking on Twitter. It's just this very awkward beef that's mostly misunderstanding to hype up the fight. And all of this is just set in the UFC PI reception area. Also, to make things a little bit weird, he was asking what shorts to wear and should he shave his head. Very cosmetic things, knowing fully well he's going to wear the version 2 custom shorts reserved for the fight. And it gives that narrative he isn't that hungry to just fight anymore.
It's just a... Oh my The one, the only, that's not going to fight me anymore. Oh! And he wants to go down to middleweight. Thanks, Ankalaev, for taking the biggest payday of my life. It's nothing personal.
It's completely ruined any potential fight of you and Alex now. Unless Alex comes back in a rematch and starches him, then it makes sense.
No.
Yeah, I guess.
Or
Go on.
I've been beating this curse like a dead horse at this point, but Alex Pereira basically broke the Brazilian main event curse. Yeah, just watch these videos for further context. Because the fight was basically just 1 minute long, I can do a quick breakdown of the fight. Alex came in with pressure within the first 3 seconds, just went in and punched him and backed him into a cage. Ankalaev does some good counters, but it looks like it didn't break Alex's spirit at all. Alex was moving like he only had 1 minute to finish Ankalaev. The key part was the calf kick. Maybe Ankalaev saw Alex so locked in, he respected the punches straight away, and he may have overreacted to the feints then. It was already one thing that Ankalaev isn't good at low kick defense, considering, the Jan fight, but he took a full impact calf kick while he was expecting a punch. So it was so powerful, he went to orthodox. The only time he went orthodox too. He is a 100% southpaw fighter. So Alex took advantage of that and just threw the most beautiful overhand. And the rest was just the finish. You could say Alex took notes from Izzy's book about rage, especially in rematches. Also, Ankalaev, or should I say Ankalaev's manager, kinda took it too far in the trash talk where it kinda fueled Alex to a personal level. After seeing that fight, you should never make Alex angry to a personal level. Jiri, Jan, and Khalil have been respectful as shit, and dare I say even Izzy. The shit talk between Izzy and Alex was kinda there to just fuel their rivalry. So there was this small unwritten agreement that it was never going to get super personal. So when Ankalaev was talking, on Twitter about the tire shop and shit, that might have grinded the gears of Alex. So we thought, angry Pereira coming into that fight is what makes him too blinded by rage and forget to be proactive in his reaction time for takedowns or something, thus making him ultimately lose. But the build-up actually paid off for the better. So due to Alex's win, there are even speculations of super fights in the heavyweight division and even people coming back to the UFC seeing that the light heavyweight division has been revived. And dare I say, just reviving the UFC in general. And for an outro, here's a dose of motivation. Although he was a glory kickboxing champion and might have been paid very well, he was an 0-1 MMA fighter pushing 30 at one point of his life. And just a bit over half a decade later, he is this man you see right now.